Red flags in lawn care. We've all been there. You're doing an estimate. Customer starts saying some stuff that doesn't quite seem right. Some stuff that might make you not want to work for them. Here's some things to look at, some things that I've encountered. When the customer starts to talk about how they're on a fixed income or a fixed budget. Now, this typically means they're looking for a cheap cut guy or somebody that does cheap work. Probably don't want to deal with that. Now, it's a little bit easier to flex that, to work around that if you're just mowing, if you're just doing lawn care, because sometimes, you can sell them on a little bit higher weekly cut, your normal price. Sometimes they'll go for that. Sometimes they won't. No big deal. You're not out too much time. Now, it does get really inconvenient if you're doing landscaping. And the reason being, landscaping, there really isn't a fixed, it's very hard to have a fixed budget in landscaping because landscaping projects typically don't go exactly the way you think they're going to go. And I'm going to do another video at some point about my the one major project that I did. In my business, I've done one major landscaping project, and it was my first and last. I decided after that I was not going to take on any projects that were that big anymore. And one of the reasons being is just because it's very hard to have something fixed like that. And if somebody says, I'm on a fixed income, I'm on a fixed budget, I want to put down flagstone, or I'm on a fixed budget, I want to, redo my landscape, you really can't do that. There's so many fluctuations in the market, in the industry. You really can't predict that. So, and but besides, if you're coming to cut somebody's grass, and say you're charging $50 as a minimum price, and they come out and say, oh, I'm on a fixed budget of, my last guy was paying $30, I was paying him $30, right off the bat, you're probably not going to get that job. Probably best not to waste your time. And kind of goes into the next one when they start talking about the last guy this, the last guy that. Now, it's one thing if they're saying, telling you what the last guy did that was wrong, and they want you to do better. That's different. If you want, you're trying to sell them on bettering their property and saving them time. And if that's the case, if that's what they're going for, then okay, sure. But if they're trying to say, oh, my last guy cut for cheap and free, can you do the same thing? Can you cut for cheap and free? The answer is no. I mean, call the last guy. Why haven't you called him? That would be my inner thought to that. Why are you calling me? If you want his work and his price, call him back. This whole pricing thing and red flags with people, when you're discussing stuff with people, it bleeds into, another statement that I hear a lot from people, and it's really irritating when I hear this, because I don't know what it means. Like when you're talking to somebody, let's say, for example, you go into the chiropractor once a week, and you're talking to somebody about that, and they say, is he reasonably priced? And I'm thinking, I don't know what that means. What do you mean by reasonably priced? I mean, yes, no, I don't know what you consider reasonable. It varies from person to person. 1 second, I'm trying to take my snack out of my bag here. It varies from person to person, this whole concept of reasonable. So, like, for me, I would pay, like, if I had to get my, let's say I had to get my transmission rebuilt, in the local reputable transmission shop that I've dealt with before and that I trust, told me, oh yeah, it's going to be $2,300 to rebuild the transmission. I'd say, yeah, that's reasonable, do it. Some other person might hear that and say, that's outrageous, that's not reasonable, I want to pay the guy in his garage $700 to do it instead. I mean, sure. Both could be said are reasonable, depending on the person. A guy that drives, Teslas and Rolls Royces, you know, is going to say, oh yeah, $1,000 to, or let's think here. What would be a comparison to that? Oh, let's say he's going on vacation, you know, half the year. Oh yeah, I'll spend $100,000 on vacation. That's cool. That's reasonable. That may be reasonable to him. It's not going to be reasonable to me. So you see what I mean? Can't really go by that. What is reasonable to some ain't going to be reasonable to others. And another thing you got to look out for is clients who are people who think they know more than you and try to kind of get you to do the lawn in a particular, very particular way, down to, you know, like they're trying to specify all these things like height of cut and direction and all this. You know, it's too much to deal with that. You want simple jobs. If you're doing a lot of these in a day, you don't want a complex yard like that. I'll give you an example from me. I dealt with this guy. a couple of years ago, a couple of times, and this clown had this zoysia grass in his yard, and for whatever reason, he told me that the zoysia has to be cut at precisely 2 inches. Exactly 2 inches, no more or less than 2 inches cut. And he wanted it cut every 2 weeks. And I'm like, looking at him like, 2 inches is, you know, and I cut one section of the zoysia in 2 inches, and it was like brown. There was all the green was off it, and it looked scalped. And I'm going, what the hell is this guy talking about? 2 inches? Please. So I cut the rest of the yard at 3.5 inches, 3 inches. The guy was never the wiser, because he didn't know what 2 inches actually meant. He just read that somewhere on the internet, or, you know, somebody told him that, and he stuck to that, and he didn't know any different. And I'm thinking like, man, 2 inches is not going to work for this. But I'm also not in the arguing business. If somebody says, oh, this and that, back then I'd just say, okay. And now I might say, yeah, but that's not going to happen. Or I might just say, no, thank you. I don't want the property. Please call someone else. Depending on how it goes. But this guy was real particular. He also wanted me to climb on top of the roof and blow leaves off for him and all this. And I'm like, okay, you know, at first he told me, oh, my gutters need to be cleaned out. The leaves are all in my gutters. And I'm telling him, okay, you know, we'll gutter clean out start at $250, I think was what I said. Something along those lines, you know. And well, why can't you just get on my roof for $20 and blow them off? My last guy, like I said here, I'm going back to that other point again. My last guy got on the roof for $20 and blew them off. I ain't getting on nobody's roof for $20. I don't like ladders, and I don't like roofs. If you want me to get on the roof or get on a ladder, no, you're gonna pay for that service. So suffice it to say, I quit working for this guy. Not worth it. Not worth playing games with. Yeah, and these are just some of those red flags you got to look for when you're doing an estimate. The kind of people, you know, that value your time and they value their time are the kind of people that will pay the rate that you're charging and aren't going to be wasting their time arguing with you about little minor details. They either don't have the inclination to do the lawn, they want someone else to do it because they want it to look good, or they don't have the time to do it and they have the money to pay someone. So what you're doing is you're essentially operating as a time saver for them. And this is the kind of client you want. This is the kind of this is the kind of client you want, and you want to look out for these red flags when you're, you know, doing estimates for new clients, because, and there's more out there. There's more out there that I could think of. I'm just not thinking of them right now. But yeah, these are some of the ones I've encountered, you know, and I'll if I think of any more, I might do a follow-up video. But yeah, this is it's an important topic. It'll if you do an estimate, you know, wrong, and it'll cost you in the long run, and potentially in the short run too. You know, you can lose money, you can lose business, and more importantly, you can lose time. So learn to recognize these red flags, avoid them. Any others you can think of, leave them in the comments if you like. See you next time.